This past year, we obviously learned a lot about self-care and boundaries and all of that fun stuff. So, in the spirit of continuing to prioritize yourself, our next workshop, Self-Care Isn't Selfish, is going to take us into how new routines are powering growth. Hannah and Sam, so great to have you here, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having us today. I'll kick it off. My name's Hannah Bohan, and I lead the customer success team over at Extole. For those of you unfamiliar with Extole, we're the leading enterprise advocacy platform. So we work with brands to turn their customers into advocates and deliver new customer acquisition and customer retention. We work with some of the world's biggest beauty and wellness brands, as well as newer brands, but they all have a common goal to really activate the passion of their customers. So we recently started working with Juvenescence and are in the process of launching their Refer a Friend program, which is how we're here today, together with Sam Norpel, who's the Chief Digital Officer at Juvenescence, a startup on a mission to change how we all think about aging and longevity. So Sam, I'll pass it off to you to introduce yourself, and I'd love to kick off the conversation by asking, what does wellness mean to you?
Thank you, Hannah, and thanks to Founder Me for having me here today. I'm really looking forward to chatting. So for those of you who haven't heard about Juvenescence, the company or the brand, I'm really pleased to introduce you to that. We are a biotech healthcare startup that's really focused on bringing novel therapies to market to increase both lifespan, the number of years you live, as well as health span, how you live. And for me, the topic of self-care and wellness is so important. When I think of wellness, I think of both mental and physical health, and that the two of those together are so critical to making sure that we're successful, whether it's with our families, we're productive, and again, that we have happy, long lives.
Awesome, I love that. And what sets Juvenescence apart from other companies right now focusing on self-care and wellness?
I think it's really our leadership team. So we are global, and our leadership across the world really has prioritized for our employees' health and wellness. If you hear thundering and I cut out for a second, I promise to be back. A little anxious here, everyone. And I think it's those leaders that really have said that we do need to focus on our talent. Our talent is our number one resource. And in order for us to be successful in our endeavors, both on the consumer side, the RX side, we have to be really conscious of this. And it starts at the top. So it's a home base for us. And it shows through every day. I think more importantly, I joined Juvenescence as a consultant of May of 2019, became a full-time employee December of 2019, and then all of a sudden the world changed. And as we've been talking about, self-care, managing our lives became just so important. And really it's the leaders and the experiences through the pandemic that I really think shows what Juvenescence is all about. Our founder, Dr. Greg Bailey, he was on a podcast, for example, talking about how he actually will stand up in the middle of meetings or take breaks and do yoga stretches. And we have seen him, look like he is about to do that, or he'll turn his camera off. And another gentleman that I work with as well, we were doing a 2-hour strategic planning session, and I looked over at his little Zoom window, and there he was, walking. And I thought, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He did it, Hannah, for 2 hours, and he talked throughout the meeting. And I thought, oh my goodness, I would be so huffy and puffy and just, but no, and so it really did, inspire me too, to start to say, okay, how can I weave in self-care throughout my day, especially with this Zoom life? So I bought a stand-up desk. I'm not at it right now, but it will lift if I wanted to.
I love that. Yeah, I totally agree that it really does make a huge impact if leadership is showing how critical self-care is. What has changed in the past 5 to 10 years about how consumers think about wellness?
I think a lot has changed both for companies and consumers. And I think a lot of it starts with the employee who is in fact a consumer. I remember when I started out my career, the thought of leaving midday to go to the gym or using a part of self-care, that was unheard of. I felt perceived that if I got up in the middle of the afternoon at 2 o'clock, stepped out to get some additional fresh air, that was somehow showing that I was less focused on my work or less accountable. I think employees over time have engaged to say, no, this is important, and health and wellness is important. And I think you see that trends across all of consumer categories, whether it's the increase in organic food supply, whether it's the fashion apparel industry that really has tackled sport and different types of athletic activities in a way that's out there. I think REI with their mission, Get Out, and how they're handling Black Friday, is definitely another example of that. So I think, just on the fashion side or the apparel side, I don't believe it's just the casualization of America that's driving that. I think it is this increased focus where I need to be able to move throughout my life with the ability to walk comfortably and safely. That you don't see women, walking in our heels as much, I think, anymore. So to me, I think that's part of it. And then if you look at the pandemic, I really think that has also changed where we stand today. I mean, pre-pandemic, when I was at the vitamin shop, we would see a huge uptick in immune supplements, for example, when it was the flu season. Now, what we're seeing is everyone is living somewhat in a place of fear. And so there's an uptick in immune supplements. It's how can I, take better care of myself? What can I do to prevent getting COVID? And also this concept that our lives have all blended. I mean, how long have you been sitting at your Zoom camera today before you jumped on? For me, it was around 7 a.m. And this unhealthy sedimentary lifestyle, I think Greg, our CEO, like I said, he said, oh, this is worse for you than smoking, to be sitting at your desk all day long. And I think even when I was in back-to-back meetings professionally before, I at least got the steps going to the bathroom or going up and down the stairs to various conference rooms, where honestly now it's like me 5 feet to the bathroom, 5 feet to the refrigerator to get, some water. And so I think for folks that have families, have children, and have really been trying to figure out the balance between our Zoom and virtual lives along with children, we recognize that in order to have the energy and the sustainability to manage our days, I kind of think of it, for me, my way of thinking it is, mental and physical fitness to be an executive. I need a stamina like an athlete to be able to be on back-to-back Zooms. And the only way I'm going to get that is by engaging in health and wellness activities and supplements and behaviors that encourage that. And I will tell you, I'm not the best at it. There are definitely moments where my teams will joke with me. We launched our product in April, and for a minute I took off the life mask. I tend to be that person on the plane. They tell you to put your life mask on first and focus on you before you help someone else. I could easily be that person who wakes up in the morning with their laptop, goes to bed with their laptop. It's important for me to recognize you're at your best, Sam, when you help yourself so that you are stronger and better in meetings. And just a mid-afternoon walk at 2 o'clock, or my team even knows, sometimes I'll send a text, hey guys, I got to go put my head down for an hour. I'm known to take a mid-afternoon nap, that then I'll get back on and be better a better manager, a better employee, a better leader because I'm rested or I've gotten fresh air, any of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Our health and beauty clients have seen that reflected in some of the messages between their customers and the friends they're referring or nominating to win something, that the messages have been more and more about about encouraging the friend to take care of themselves and like deserving this.
You deserve it.
Yeah. So what are the biggest wellness trends driving Juvenescence's growth, and how are you tapping into them?
So I would say for Juvenescence specifically, the biggest trend is really the baby boomers aging. I mean, it's our largest population. And as a result, the focus is there with a lot of investors who are also hitting that point in their lives where they're like, okay, wait, what is next? One of my coworkers and peers described his parents when they retired. He said, they basically retired and went home to die. I don't want that. I don't want to be a burden, but I still want to live healthily. The average life expectancy today for someone in the US is 78 years. The average life expectancy for someone who was born in 2000, so pretty close to the time period my children were born, is 100 years old. So think about it. Average retirement, 67, I think. Maybe they'll make it longer. This gives people the ability to have second careers, second lives, freedom after their children have gone off to college or gone off and started lives. And I think boomers are really driving this mentality to say, no, I'm not just going home to die. I want something more. So the research is there. The dollars are there because they are definitely affluent generation for us. And there's many of them.
I love that. As we've talked about in the current climate, everyone's feeling so stretched thin, and self-care is really more important than ever. Do you think that's here to stay, or do you think people are going to revert back to old habits of not prioritizing their well-being?
It's funny because I just told you how I revert back so easily. I say, no, I need to focus here. In general, I think it's here to stay. I think the pandemic has really started, we see trends in how people are thinking about their work-life balance. What's important to me? I don't want a long commute anymore. I now know what is important to me in life. And I think we're acknowledging that self-care is here. And I think when historians look back, it's really going to be, even though it's lasted much longer than I think many of us hoped, 18 months, this period was very much now a before and after period. And I see that moment of inflection continuing. I mentioned how some of this is being driven for Juvenescence by the boomers, but we're also seeing it and we're seeing it in the generation that has children, has families. I need more to be able to figure this out. And it's not selfish of me as a mom, a parent, a wife, a worker, a father, a son, whoever, to take a few minutes to put the life mask on me and to have self-care because that makes me better all around. But we're also seeing it in younger generations. And I think a prime example of that is what we just witnessed a few weeks back with the Olympics and Simone Biles, who, an amazing gymnast, what is she called? She's called a GOAT. I guess greatest of all time. I did gymnastics when I was younger, and I have such an appreciation for what she was calling the twisties. And when your mental and physical body get sort of out of whack, you're not in sync. And for her to be able to take the courage to step out because she knew it was better for her team, and also to have all of the onslaught, both positive and negative, on the commentary where she said, hey, I'm more than a gymnast. My mental health is important. I think, she was supported by so many people that again is showing that we now are seeing mental health generationally across, and self-care as being so critical to physical well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the younger generation embracing the need for self-care and wellness and not thinking of it as, taboo or even selfish is such a truly positive, powerful shift.
Yes.
Awesome. So what new trends in self-care and wellness do you see on the horizon, besides more treadmill desks and meetings?
Um, so I think, besides self-care, wellness products and RX and vaccines, I think this is important to note because I'm not sure everyone is aware of this, is that we're going to continue seeing therapies come out at a quicker pace than they ever have before. And this is really being driven by machine learning and artificial intelligence. So one of our divisions in our data science group, we have a partner company called Relation Therapeutics. They received a Bill and Melinda Gates grant during the pandemic to actually use their machine learning capabilities to identify therapies for COVID. And it's just the same type of machine learning capabilities that say, okay, if I am bringing an RX drug to market, this one here, nope, that's going to be no good. I don't need to take it into a study with consumers and patients and see how they perform because I know from what the intelligence is telling me that it's one to throw away. And since we're not then studying lots of different compounds, we're honing in on the one that's right. Processes that took 10 years before will continue to be whittled down. And I believe that's what we saw during the pandemic with bringing the vaccine together. And then also on the health and wellness side, I remember when I arrived at Juvenescence learning about this and being completely shocked, is that one of our partner companies is also a regeneration company, and they're working on enabling, for example, in human trials now, it's been done in animals, to create a liver from your lymph node. And imagine what that could be if we no longer had to worry about transplant lists. That can save many lives. And so when you think about health and wellness beyond, we're talking more physical, but just the enablement of and where science is on the precipice of aging technologies that can help us, again, expand that lifespan.
Wow.
Sorry, did I
interesting time to be alive. No.
Yes.
No, I love it. I love it. Awesome. So one more marketing related question, given that you've worked at both really established organizations like Land's End and the Vitamin Shop, as you mentioned, and now you're at a newer brand with the first anniversary of your website launch next month. Are there any, brand lessons or tactics that you're taking to Juvenescence? And are there any that you're leaving behind?
Okay. Oh gosh, so many. Okay, let's start with lessons, I guess. So you mentioned Land's End first. So one thing that normally surprises people as the chief digital officer is that I'm a huge direct mail fan. I believe that it has very strong targeting. It can have lower costs than digital when you're looking to acquire someone, the cost of a mail piece versus a cost per click or CPM. So I think I really took my catalog experience at Land's End and learned a lot and continue to think about that in all of the positions I've had since then. Well, of course, Extole, we worked with you I think I hired you in also at the Vitamin Shop and at Land's End. And really it's the community that we're looking to create at Juvenescence, and understanding now how much word of mouth and trusted advisors, your friends, are important. So for us, this was really a no-brainer for us. It's been on our roadmap since we were working to get started that we knew we were going to need this. So that's another one. Let's see. And at Vitamin Shop, I think this is critical as we talk about self-care and wellness. At the Vitamin Shop, we launched a subscription program. And one of the most important things I think in the health and wellness space is to facilitate regimen, meaning if I'm looking to prevent getting sick, if I'm staying on a regimen, getting the vitamins I need, for me, taking collagen, I'm getting older, I want my skin to stay firm, all of those things, it's really important to be able to make sure that I don't run out. So enabling a flexible subscription program that allows that. And for us, at Juve Labs. So we sell our product on both Juve Labs and on Amazon. And we have enabled that subscription capability because our product metabolic switch that I think I mentioned earlier, puts you into ketosis. Really, the benefits that you get from that product are best when you take it daily. So mental acuity, energy, metabolic changes, that's why it's called metabolic switch. They really happen when you take it daily. Now, some people will want to take it episodically, but when your body goes into ketosis every day, you get the benefits, and that really then bridges into the longevity piece for us. And then let's see, leave behind. Off-camera meetings. I remember when I first got, when I would work from home and we were on maybe WebEx or before the pandemic, you would never turn your camera on at home. And I think really turning cameras on and being able to see people face to face, and you can't see it here, but their backgrounds, their family, their dogs, their pets, their children, to me, that's such an important part of our culture now, is showing, our imperfections and our vulnerability. And then, of course, for me, I would leave behind not taking those midday breaks for self-care. I really, think that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with those two. Before I used to not share my camera if I hadn't showered and put some makeup on, and now I just have a go-to baseball hat and share my camera no matter what. Yep, there you go. Yeah, and taking breaks for self-care, I hope, won't go away anytime soon.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for taking the time to speak with us about wellness and self-care. I'll look in the chat to see if there's any questions. A lot of echoing that work-life balance is very important, and that taking care of yourself is no longer considered selfish.
Yeah, I love Greta's comment. Yes, self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Yeah, I'm so curious to know, were there any things that you kind of had to start saying no to? I think as far as just in some ways, when you're working from home, there's more accessibility. Did you have to say, I need to not take this meeting, or I need to, have my own separate workspace, not around family or loved ones, or just anything that you could kind of share would be, just as a personal note, would be really interesting as well.
Sure. So I guess one of the biggest changes I made, there's my dogs barking, during the pandemic, is we put in a small little office for me that I'm in. And that I think was huge, creating a space where I could really feel like I was leaving and exiting within my house. When I first started out, I had a computer desk in our bedroom and a side room off of our bedroom. And that just felt too close to where, I wanted to go to sleep, or what other activities you have in your bedroom. So, which I realized just sounded a little sexy. But, I think the separate space was critical. I think last year, with kids also on Zoom, that was extremely difficult, and just trying to balance it all. But, I think the important thing, Julia, just to share why I think it's so important to be yourself, is I had a one-on-one with my CEO 2 hours before this call. I worked out this morning. I did a fabulous 50s and over video on YouTube. I'm not 50, but I still like her. I'm not there yet, but I like her video. And I was doing the weights, and then I had to immediately get on and start doing work. I didn't worry about what I looked like. During my one-on-one, my hair was up here. I had on my workout clothes. I had my camera on, and I was speaking to we have multiple CEOs, the CEO of my division that I report into, and said, hey, I'm about to get on this. I have to get off at 12 because then I'm going to go get beautified, to be on this speaker call. And so I don't dress like this every day. And I think that's important, because it's really about getting the work done. for us as a startup, we're a scrappy team, a scrappy business, and really leaning into what a Zoom experience can be, but also making sure you have that self-care and that support. And he was like, go get them. So.
Thank you. I know I was thinking today, I go, oh, it's so nice to, put on some makeup today and feel like I'm going somewhere.
Putting in contact.
That was my own version of self-care. Hannah, I'd love to hear from you as well. I know you've been sort of asking the questions, but I'd love to hear from you also.
Yeah, for me, like Sam said, having a separate space for work was really critical. So it didn't feel like it was just work blended into my whole day, and there was like a designated spot to work. And also setting specific times of the day for my own like self-care routine. So for me, it's, no matter how early of a call I have, making sure I wake up even earlier to do kind of my self-care routine and get grounded. Because, as much as I don't miss having a commute, I do recognize that commute time was kind of preparing myself for the day and just, being on my own with my, music or a podcast. And not having that commute anymore, really having to carve out that kind of morning routine to like get started and get your brain in a good, healthy mental space is really important for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know we have about 2 minutes left. So if no one else has questions, I'd love to know what is the best way that brands could contact you to work with you?
My email address is sam@juvlabs.com, juvlabs.com. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. And I can be reached at hbohan@extole.com. And you could also just go to extole.com and put in an inquiry or find me on LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. Yes. It's great.
Thank you both so much. Really, thank you for joining us.